So recording has started. So let me just check my microphone. I'll edit this bit out. Although sometimes the more interesting bits are the things that were unplanned. I think I did the test. Yeah, my microphone's fine, so that's good. That's good. So Aurora and Roberta, thank you so much for agreeing to be my guests on the podcast.
Thank you to having invited us.
I don't look very excited, but I am. Now I should say that I think I saw you both on Instagram first of all.
Yeah, you did.
And I saw your I think it was the post or in this Zoom world, it's hard to know what they call these things, but you had some publicity about your show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was terribly effective, and very intriguing because of your use of light in the picture. I think it was yourself, Aurora, was it, in the
Yes, I was there.
Yeah, in the picture. And it was so mysterious and atmospheric, and almost dangerous, actually. It had that sense, but it was so captivating. I thought, gosh, they're doing things that we're not. They're much better than us. That was my first thought. And then I saw your piece.
I got many comments on that as well. What you're saying has been said by many. Oh, intriguing. Oh, it sounds cool.
Yeah. So it's very successful publicity. And then the show itself was remarkable. And I still think of it. And I still watch bits of it occasionally on your YouTube channel. So perhaps let's start there, if we might. Perhaps you could just tell my audience. We're not live, obviously. I put this out after only if you're happy with it. But if you could tell the audience a little bit about yourselves and what the name of your theatrical Zoom company. Do you call it a Zoom company? I'll pass it over to you. You tell my listeners a little bit about my listeners. Get me. Both my listeners. And that'll probably be you two. If you tell people about yourselves a little bit, what the theatre enterprise is that you're engaged in, and the piece that you wrote that I'm talking about, etc. So I'll shut up.
Okay.
Roberta, you go first.
Yeah, I go first, and then Persona Teatro. It's our name, and the name comes from a very famous film by Ingmar Bergman that we both love very much. And especially that film is, I think, my favorite. I don't know about Aurora, but is my favorite among Bergman films. So we were born in 2013, and
not you personally, surely.
Yeah, I look a bit older, I know.
Blimey.
No, I didn't.
Our baby was born in 2013.
Yeah. Apologies. Carry on.
We gave birth to Persona Teatro in 2013, and after a very long acquaintance between me and Aurora during our theatre school, that it's called Extra Mondo, that in English it's Extra World from the Philip Dick Blade Runner.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were there for 4 years, and we were working together quite a lot. And I fell in love with her in the sense that with her acting, with the person that she is, and I wanted to do theater with her. And so we started a long time ago, now we can say. And in the last year, we started our enterprise with Zoom. But before we were doing live theater, of course. But this was a very interesting experiment, and it still is, because we are now starting to work with another play that Aurora has written, but I don't want to say about that. She will if she wants. No spoiler.
No spoilers.
Yeah. So
but
what
no
else?
spoilers, but maximum publicity.
Just like this one, Graham.
Yeah.
Just like this one.
Yeah. A spot. No, really, it's an adventure for us and Zoom experience, and we both felt really free to experiment. Both with lights and the way of acting and being on stage, but not being on stage.
Yes.
So we were using this little camera as if we were on stage, but also with a completely different approach. I don't know how to explain this better than this. It's just a sensation, a strong sensation that you have when you are doing rehearsals and then when you are playing. Like you actually are doing that for a public.
Yes.
Yeah, it's something really strong for me.
Yes.
I don't feel the void of the camera. I know that you're there. So this implies completely different energy. That is, I don't
more
know.
Focused, maybe.
Yeah, it's very focused. Very
more
focused.
Concentrated, yeah. Condensed. Condensed, no? It's like it's something even more intense than because you concentrate everything on your face.
Yes.
And your shoulders, but that's it.
Yes.
This is maybe why you perceived a dangerous thing, because actually we put a lot in it. So this becomes a bit dangerous.
I think it was that. Well, I said I'll shut up, so I'm going to stay quiet for a minute or two longer before I ask you some more questions. But yeah, that's a beautiful description. That's a beautiful description. Very emotional. Very emotional. I mean, theatre is very emotional, of course it is, and that's the joy of it, isn't it? And often we can't explain why we're drawn to a piece, why we're drawn to a character, and why we're drawn to the need to do theatre, you know. But let's pass to you, Aurora, and perhaps you say a little bit as well about about this piece, A Woman of Very Little Importance. If I remember the title right?
Without Qualities.
Without Qualities. Yes, I'm mixing it up with Oscar Wilde.
Yeah, without importance.
Yeah, so perhaps you might say a little of where the show came from and how you conceived it and executed it.
With pleasure. I had no idea of writing a play. I had already written my first play in collaboration with Roberta, but I wasn't seeing it as a career, actually. So the first time when I started thinking about writing something about women was when I was having a lesson with a student. I also teach English. So, and I confessed her, you know, I'm writing. Oh my God, what are you writing? I'm writing theater play. Good. So you're also a writer. Well, I'm not a writer. I don't consider myself a writer, but I've found out a new skill. And this was about 3 years ago. So she says, why don't you write something about women? There is such a new movement. She wasn't talking about the new feminism or Me Too movements and so on. She was just talking about a new sensitivity on how women feel things and how they perceive this new technological era as well. And then I forgot about it. I forgot about our chats. But in the following months, I started thinking about the idea of writing about women because I was noticing things in the women that surrounded me. So friends, mostly friends, students, and I was perceiving their strengths, of course, but especially their weaknesses. And I thought this would be really interesting because we don't speak about weaknesses, women weaknesses, and we never want women to be weak or ridiculous or unimportant or not beautiful or not externally beautiful, right? We never speak about imperfections that women have in general terms. I mean, the most successful movies generally are on beautiful women, perfect women, romantic women, men that fall in love with these beauties everywhere, inside, outside, virtues, and so on. And I was raised also on reading books, you know, on these perfect women. All the heroines were always beautiful, and their souls were beautiful. They were generous. They were empathetic. They were wow. It's very frustrating, though, for a woman that cannot reach that level of perfect. And maybe we don't want that. Because when you have talents, you're not free then to experiment. When you experiment, you can be many things, right? And you need to have that freedom. And sometimes maybe you're not perfect in those experiments. You can also feel ridiculous, especially for an actress. Here in Italy, image is very important. And I thought, so where do I get this strength? How do I make it possible for women in general, to get this real beauty, not the artificial or the perfect beauty, the harmony, as we are always told. I started talking about weaknesses, and that was very easy. And these characters just came along so easily, and in less than 1 month, it just built up very naturally. And originally there were 6 monologues by 6 characters, and every woman has a name. For example, Lady Artist, Lady Cat, Lady Flaubert, from the novel by the many women novels by Flaubert. And another one is Lady, help me, Lady Actress, No,
Lady
we have
actress.
lady artist, yes, and another thing I don't remember. Lady seesaw, who is always swinging, and lady. Oh, she's not there, but we didn't include it in her in the Zoom performance. So we reduced them to 4 because 6 were too long. And then there is the prologue and the epilogue. All of these women are one woman. So the idea is to make it possible for them to include all these qualities, which are non-qualities, together in one woman.
Okay.
That is why it's called The Woman Without Qualities.
Oh, right. The woman without. Do you mean that in a Zen sort of sense of emptiness and signlessness?
Sightlessness of all these women, you
mean? Because there's a paradox in the title, isn't there? Without qualities, and yet they clearly do have qualities, because or at the very least, they have the ability to have an impact on the viewer. They all do in various ways, don't they? So they clearly do have qualities. So is there an irony in the title? I mean,
yes, it is.
Yeah,
there is an irony.
Okay. Okay. So it's as if what the I should have asked this at the time when I just after I'd seen it, but I need to say parenthetically that I will of course put a link in the podcast with to the piece, well, to your whole YouTube channel, but also I'll direct them, because you've got the piece is viewable as a whole, and I think in parts as well, isn't it, on your YouTube?
It's not viewable as a whole because
right.
Otherwise we cannot perform it during the events. So it's to prevent freeloaders from, just watching it. This was the idea.
I see. Yes. There's all sorts of angles I want to come at this from: a viewer, a fellow, well, actor, I suppose, and writer, and so on. But let's stay, if I may, let's stay with the theme of it for a moment or two. Yes, the danger sort of continued, I think, right through the pieces that I watched, because partly because it felt very intrusive, particularly I think for a man. I think I may have said at the time, to see
also women, not just
also women felt that too.
Yeah,
did they? Yeah.
I get that.
Because these women, or the different aspects of woman, of the character, central character, were shown in often very desperate states of self-denial, insecurity, all the weaknesses that you just were talking about,
exactly.
that you wanted to reference. And to be in the presence of that is I think I said it to you, it is very shocking. And there is something about zooming it that makes it more shocking, I think. You can be in a very small, intimate theatre with maybe 10, 15 seats, and be almost that close to an actor. But there's something about it. I really think we're in the most terribly remarkable and exciting times with all of this, because it is without parallel, this form that you are engaged in and that I'm engaged is without parallel. That in so many ways, for example, to watch another human being play these different characters on journeys of great darkness, but also great joy, while the computer is sitting on your table. And you're free to get up and walk around and have a cup of tea, or, answer the
But we
door.
imagined that, Graham. We knew that.
Yeah.
And that was also meant to keep them hooked. Because otherwise, that would have been very tempting.
Yeah, and also, like Aurora said before, we are not willing to stream the video without us doing it live, because it's something that, apart from the thing that if you are seeing it straight on stream, you will not come to our show. This is, of course,
yes.
This is true, but mostly we need you to be there alive while we perform.
How interesting.
This is a seat of theater, that archaic theater, that needs your presence, and you feel hooked because in a way you don't feel allowed to go and stop it, because they are doing that for you in that very moment. And the trick is that this is intense, but you cannot run away. Well, of course you can, but
no, but psychologically they feel more conditioned. So,
but
subtle operation.
In a well, I nearly said real theatre. There is no real theatre. There's simply theatre. If you're in this is just thoughts just come to me. You've given me so many different thoughts. If one's performing in a kind of physical theatre with an audience out there and so on, you darn well know when if anybody gets up to leave in the middle of it or makes any kind of reaction of any sort, be it sneezing, sleeping, snoring, laughing, crying, as an actor, you're aware of it, even if you're very in character. Usually, even if the audience is completely silent and in that beautiful, friend of mine calls it the velvet zone of engagement. There's a sort of soft silence going on in the theatre because people dare not breathe. That moments that we live for, aren't they, really? What's fascinating, though, that in Zoom, live Zoom in particular, that you're talking about, you've no idea, have you? You've no idea what the audience are doing, presumably, because I assume you'd learn the lines and you're doing it straight to camera, but you're doing it without the gallery view, so you can't see your audience.
Generally, we don't.
So you only see yourself.
We ask them to turn off the camera.
Yeah, that's right, and the sound. So we were.
And the sound,
you had no idea. You haven't. It's fascinating, isn't it? You must have been just looking at yourself then.
Yeah, most of the time.
Or Roberta and Aurora when
Sometimes I don't see anything.
Yeah.
So to all intents and
yeah, for me as well. I use the white page to get the light on my face, so I'm not even seeing the Zoom camera. So I don't see myself most of the times. Yeah.
Right. So you stuck a white page on the screen. Forgive me for repeating what you just said.
You need a source of light, just like
you're doing now.
Something. Yeah, exactly.
How interesting. How interesting, because it does.
We planned all this and we discussed this because we wanted to sort of reproduce theater, but having nothing, having no space, having no chairs, and having no lights, and having no mixture and sound and other technological tools that you need to do. You normally need to do theater. So this was the question. How can we make it possible for the audience to feel in a real theater? Because they are not in a real theater, and that is true. But you need to create the conditions for them and give the illusion, imagination, right, to feel in a real theater. And then we thought, okay, what does a theater have? What does it have so special? What are the elements that we need to consider? Why does theater keep you hooked? And then we started thinking about it, both as actresses, so performers, and as spectators. So from both the points of view, and we said, okay, the lights are fundamental. If I don't have the lights on me, I cannot switch to another level of performance.
Explain that a bit more.
If I don't have the dark around me and only one source of light, for me as an actress, it's very difficult to go to get to that other, to the level of the performance.
Right.
To that world.
Right.
And to create and recreate that world.
Interesting.
Because right now I'm talking normally, I'm in my house, and you see my furniture and everything around me. There is the daylight, there are all the objects here, and there is no illusion. It's just normal life. This is reality. So there is no way that I can recreate another level of artistic expression.
Interesting.
The language of theater, you know?
Yes.
Of emotions and recreating all the images, the atmosphere.
Yes. Unless you'd written a part for, I'm not being facetious, but you're challenging my thinking, so I just want to push it a bit further. Unless you were writing a character who was engaged in a Zoom conversation with others about a play in which she had performed. In which case, possibly you wouldn't use your own kitchen or your own living room or your own, you would use...
Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah, I always use this part.
Yes. These are new considerations for us as Zoom actors, aren't they? We don't have... When the reason I first started this, which is a lot later than you, we only started doing our stuff in September last year, and it just came out of a chance conversation with some people about the sadness that we can't go into theaters and because of the virus and so on. And I remember saying to somebody, and so people were saying, well, why don't we put plays on Zoom? And we could just all take parts of traditional standard plays and put them on and so on. And that was tried, and it didn't really work for one reason or another. And I said, well, why don't we try something different? Why don't we try doing theatre that could not be done on stage?
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah.
Great idea. Superb.
Because then so it's so interesting to hear you talk about let me try and get this back to you. Because your piece is very, very, it does not look as if you've tried to replicate the experience of being in theatre, but what you have done is, oh, sorry, I switched my light off in the excitement. It's not a very posh light. It's just my little, it's a table lamp. That could be the name for, oh God, I'll keep pressing it. It's one of these switches that you just touch it and it.
You seem to like it a lot.
Yes.
Use it.
Well, it's a theatrical effect, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, of course.
But this is the joy of it, isn't it?
Theater, of the stage, you know, those lights are fantastic.
Yes.
crucial to
yes,
the language of
yes,
theater.
they are. Yes, they are. Yeah, but yes. But however, the purpose of our art is, oh goodness me, what a stupid thing to, what a stupid way to start a sentence. Where's that going to end? What are the, perhaps you can talk about. I think it's not a very good direction to go in, because the minute, it's like religion. I think the minute you start talking about an experience of meeting God, as you sometimes hear people bold enough to talk about meeting their higher power or whatever, the more that one attempts that, the less successful one gets. I think some experiences are completely beyond words. Mm-hmm. And I think theatre is, I don't know about you, but I think what we're doing in Zoom and theatre, that is what we're, you want to have an experience, you're not sure, but we're not sure how it's going to change us, not sure how it's going to change us. And if we could explain how it's going to change us, what would be the point of going anyway? You don't see how, you watch Hamlet. If you watch, the worst reaction you can have, I think, the worst reaction that one can hear as a performer at the end of a piece of theatre is, audience is saying, "Oh, what the costume, lovely." Oh, God, I tell you what, wasn't I tell you what, so and so was rubbish, wasn't she? And Graham was awful. How does he get parts? What you want is to talk about the issues that the play raises, don't you? And you want, it sounds very pompous. You want to come out of Hamlet and think, oh my Lord, how do I live now? Or how do I live now? Not in a kind of suicidal way, but how am I going to retread the paths that I'm familiar with now, or something like that, but I don't want much out of theatre, as you can see.
But what you write is absolutely human, Graham, also for an actor who is meant to be immortal, but he's actually the most mortal being on earth, probably, because he experiences so much of the human experience, both the worst and the best from life. I strongly believe this. And once that you've had what you think you've had the worst from the bad experiences, you're born stronger. And that makes you also understand why you do what you do and how it connects you with the audience, which are just other human beings. When I first proposed the Zoom theater experience to Roberta, I started from a very, very simple point of view, which was communication. Mm-hmm. Once that you understand that theater is just a form of art of powerful communication, then you're just changing the tool. You're not changing the message.
Interesting.
You want to reach out to people.
Yes.
That's all you have to know.
Yes. Yes, that's right, isn't it? Yes, you want to reach out. You want to reach out. And at its most basic level, do you think it's again, I forget who I was talking to about this, but it hardly matters. Oh yes, we were talking about audiences. I was talking to somebody about audiences and saying, does it matter to us if nobody watches this? And
well, we have to accept the fact that nobody watches this.
Yeah. Does that matter?
It does, of course it does.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So, I mean, this again is a thing with what we're doing on Zoom, isn't it? Because one could write something and produce it, and off it goes, and it gets no views. But because it's on the internet, well, actually, that's slightly different to what you do, isn't it? Because you're specifically inviting people to come, and they pay, and then they can see a snippet of it afterwards. Whereas we are much more cavalier about it and produce things, don't charge a penny, show them on the internet and see what happens. Which is a lot less refined. But on the other hand, if I get no views, if I do a piece and it gets no views, well, it's the riddle of, if a tree falls in a forest, does anybody hear it? If a tree falls in a forest, is there a noise? And anyway, I was saying to my friend, I tell you what, I think what we're doing here is, what I'm doing here is saying, when you put a piece of theatre together and stick it on the internet, you're saying, at one level, it could be viewed as very narcissistic, and you simply want people to, you want admiration, whatever. But at a more basic, fundamental human level, you're saying, look, I'm here. I exist. Which is, I think I don't know what you think about that. I think there's a very, very, fundamental human need, isn't there, to say to the rest of the tribe, as it were, clustered around the campfire as we are.
Graham, we are all doing it through social media.
Yes.
This is what everybody does every day. Yes. Yeah. I exist. Videos, posts, pictures, taken in so many ways. Grab the attention here and there, and hey, I exist. Hey, look at this. Hey, this is crazy.
Yes, and
to do theatre in a different way, and to do theatre in general is an act of courage, I think, because it's quite different from this kind of message that is sent every day. So if you don't differentiate from this general idea of appearing and existing,
yes,
and you have your ideas, quite clear about that, and say, no, I'm not just here. I'm not here just to exist, but I have a powerful message that I want to give you. If you want to listen to it, I'll be very happy, and we can share this thought together. And we can grow as human beings.
Yes. And you're making me think about a piece that one could do about all this, because often what people share on the internet is, oh, look at my dog, and the dog jumps up and down, and
which are lovely, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not having a go. I'm running, or YouTube, and who is not captivated by pictures of penguins toddling along on the ice shelf? It's very endearing, and I'm not knocking that for it. And on Facebook, what you sometimes see also on Facebook is that people pour their hearts out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the more tedious ones are the ones who say, "Oh, look at my lovely family," and here's my 8 perfect children, and they've all got 6 degrees, and they're all working at NASA, and it's lies. Mm-mm. But it's a wonderful. I do see it as theatre in a way. It's accidental theatre. It's like found theatre, isn't it? Where people are not telling the truth. They've cultivated a character with 8 perfect children and a perfect partner and a beautiful home. And it's not true. They're having a screaming breakdown, in fact, and they hate their children, and they're about to leave their partner. And then you get Facebook posts where people say, I'm in a hell of a lot of trouble here. Some of that is a bit of heart on the sleeve, isn't it? Some of that is a bit of
right.
But it is this electronic form of communication, this world we're in. Astonishing. So
this is why theater must make the difference. It's like you are here and you want to say, yeah, I'm here, I have a message for you, but also I want it to be disruptive. I don't know, it's something that makes you, I don't know if think or feel or hate. Sometimes you can also say, oh, what's that? This gives me shivers, I don't want it. But you are feeling something. In a way, theater must have this role
yes
in people's life.
Yes.
Even if they don't want it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like a stalker because theater is not really something that everyone loves, or so a lot of people that I know, when I say I do theater, it's like I'm saying I have 2 degrees engineering. I don't know. It's like something incredible. Theater.
Yes.
Who does theater now?
Yes.
It's something really old but ancient, but something that you have, I don't know, respect. And this is really interesting. The reaction people that do not usually love or do theater or go to theater have in front of theater. And I want to get their attention.
Yes.
It's very interesting. The attention of people that do not normally see theater. This is something that was in my mind from the first time that I did theater.
Yes, yes, absolutely. 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 I'm reflecting on that because you're also co-constructing, aren't you, with your audience? If you've got if, as you did, you make a really special thing of it where people must appear at a certain time. They must try and get the difference between UK and European time right. They must make an effort to appear. They must pay money. They must pay. So you're inviting that is a basic, that is a clear similarity, obviously, between physical theatre and Zoom theatre that you set up for us. And then there's an element of co-construction, because if you pay money to appear and you watch a piece, the obligation is upon you to, be part of its intellectual journey, don't you? I think, as well as part of its emotional journey. Do you think? Yeah, absolutely. This is what we need you to do as public, and as performers, we need it. We need this connection, this. It's not only attention, like you said. It's not just hello, see, I'm performing. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Yes.
No, it's not that.
Yes. Unless you were playing that character, because that is what you've just done there in that moment where you played that character is absolutely fascinating, isn't it? Because that's the experience, as we've just been saying. Sorry, I'm taking us back in a circular direction, but the experience of billions of people on the planet is exactly that. Notice me. Hello. I'm here, and I'm going to be dead within 70 years. And we have that, and with Facebook and with Instagram and with whatever else.
Sure.
I saw a meme the other day that said, I'm going to try and construct for myself 15 minutes of anonymity.
Beautiful. Amazing.
Because we're all on a stage, aren't we? You look at when you walk around town, what's the statistic? Something like
from Andy Warhol that used to. There was a famous quote by Andy Warhol saying, "In the future, the average man will have 15 minutes of celebrity," and it would be interesting an opposite quote saying, "In the future, Everybody's going to be anonymous for 15 minutes.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. Incredible.
It is incredible, because if you Google somebody's name, if you Google your own name on the internet, for example, you're stunned, aren't you? Blimey. I'm all over the place.
I'm all over the place. I'm famous.
Yeah, in a way. And then if you walk through, are you both in Milan?
No, I'm not.
No, I'm in Milan. Roberta is in.
I'm in Asti. That is.
But if you walk through town, you're going to be on security cameras, aren't you? You're also going to, so you're going to be on. By the time you've left your home and come back again, you will have been recorded. What, dozen times, 12 times, 20 times, maybe. Then you've been stored, and you're engaged in an improvised promenade performance with, it's that's then becomes fly on the wall documentary, really, doesn't it? Because somebody is, but it's also you. Oh gosh, I've got to shut up because this is about you two. But you're then being watched, aren't you? You're being that's a whole new genre where somebody is watching you. You don't know who, the police, the parking attendants, or whatever, local council.
You're being spied.
Huh?
Somehow.
Yeah.
You're being spied.
Yeah. So we're in this world of competing forms in which our image has been captured, and so and what we're trying to do. So let's come on to a kind of when you were talking about, let's come back to some basic things about how you try to get your publicity going. How do you, how have you any thoughts about how you get people to notice the artwork you're doing?
Good question. And it's been asked by many people from our audience, also important people. We have, we're probably one of the few unknown companies in Italy that has famous people in their audience. This is an incredible, important people, actually. There has always been a famous writer. And then those two, the old couple that you saw last time from Canada, they used to be famous, and now they're not so popular, of course, but they're also important because they remain in the history of the country. And the first was a singer, and the second was an actor. And we don't know why, but it's very interesting. We're working on just social marketing. It's not easy because we're not experts and specialists in that, but I'm pushing hard, very, very much, because I know the importance, and we want to do it in a smart way that has a meaning for us as well, and that might reach out to people that want to be part of our community. And now it's becoming an international community, which is very, very exciting.
Yeah, it is.
And also theater, I think, is perceived in a different way. The theater in Italy is perceived probably in a different way from England, from Manchester, where you are, from London.
Well,
the fruition also is different. Yeah?
Yes. I'm in Stratford upon Avon now. It's where I live.
Oh, Stratford, sorry.
Yeah, so it's interesting. No, I'm from Manchester. I was born there, but
okay.
But what you say is because, of course, the theatre has a whole different identity in Stratford. It's very, very, very different.
Shakespeare.
Yeah. Well, that's right. But now, have you found in Italy other groups, and have you connected with other groups internationally other than us?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
There doesn't seem to be any Zoom theater. Zoom theater companies in Italy, I
No.
haven't heard of it. Not yet.
No. Isn't that interesting, though?
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. There have been just people that during lockdown just streamed their plays, but they were not doing Zoom theater. They were just putting the camera and doing the exact same things that they used to do in theaters. So it was not and they always said they were sorry for that. It was not a choice. We have to do that because we cannot do something else.
Right.
Yes.
Please forgive us.
Yes. So it's a mindset completely different. It's like, okay, this is crap. I have to do that because I don't have choice.
Yes.
But as soon as the theaters are open again, I will not do that again.
Absolutely.
So it's a completely different mindset, and they're not interested, or at least the ones that I have been following on the socials. So I don't have the entire picture of Italy, of course. Maybe there are others like us that are not reaching the audience. I don't know.
It could be. I mean, it's like the search for extraterrestrial life, isn't it? You know, that we're stuck on Earth and we're looking out into the skies and saying, anybody else there?
Yeah.
And I happened to see your signal through Instagram.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yes.
That's how it works. It's accidental contact, isn't it? You know, but I have found I've gone to the extent of just Googling Zoom theater and seeing what else is there. No doubt you have too. And there's a couple of American groups, aren't there? But again, there's 2 or 3. If I can remember to do it, I'll send you the links of the things I found, because I think this is terribly important that, you know, we exchange as much information as we can, because it's great to meet and to talk and to think together. It's just fantastic. There's a couple of Eric Bogassian, I think his name is, but I'll since this I'm doing this for the record, I'll correct that and put the correct name in, clearly. And he's doing monologues against a very jet black background, and he's got a single camera. Now, he's not doing, as it were, live Zoom theatre in the way that you are, but he is doing theatre that isn't, as it were, an apology, as you so accurately put it. When people say, oh, we're going to live stream our show for you, we're going to live stream your show, I'm afraid I just don't watch at all. Because if you're going to live stream what's on stage, it's never going to be as good. So
that's why we didn't do that.
Yeah, don't you?
I agree.
I can't be bothered with it.
No, exactly.
I want to see new. Yeah, but people who are doing, because I'm doing a piece at the moment, just with a friend of mine who about that I have to think to myself, could I do it on stage? Because if I could do it on stage, I'm not going to do it. So I'm doing a piece at the moment based on the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, which is one of the, you know, the Gospels that didn't make it into the New Testament. And a friend of mine is playing, and this Gospel is just extraordinary. It's extraordinarily beautiful exposition of, you know, life, really. Anyway, so now what I'm trying to do with that is to record it, and then I'm going to edit it together and then put it out. I know darned well that if I tried to do that on stage, artistically it wouldn't work, because I want to make use of the editing facility and the meaning that can come from juxtaposition and so on. But I also know there wouldn't be a theatre in the world who would say, oh yeah, let's put on a piece about the lost Gospel of Mary. But we can do anything. Now look, I'm nearing the end of my time with you. I'm so sorry for talking so much. But what's next then for you? How can both my listeners
we're working on, we haven't started yet, but there will be a third play. I'm saying third, so it's what I've written is a trilogy.
Mm.
And the first starts, the first play that we performed a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, was called Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh, yes, yes.
But it's not the movie, it's a totally different story. It's about the separation between two young people. And there are the objects that they have to separate. And the objects are the characters, and they're dramatically in despair for the separation of the two. They're just like children, the children of these two, the man and the woman.
Wow.
The second one is The Woman Without Quality, what you saw on Zoom. And the third one will be Her Majesty is in Love. And it's a new play that speaks about. Da, 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 da.
Oh, no spoiler. You're not doing a spoiler. You know about theatrical tension.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it works because I'm seriously intrigued now. I am seriously intrigued. My audience will be too. Yeah, okay, well, good for you. We will leave both my listeners.
Just the title, I think, is enough. Her Majesty is in Love.
It's a great title. It's a
honestly,
great title. Yeah.
You're not playing.
No, there's one that would be so rude. Yeah, I want to know which Majesty is it? You say Her Majesty, so it's a woman.
Her Majesty is a queen.
Is it a queen of where?
Nowhere.
Nowhere. Oh,
nowhere.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
When a queen falls in love,
you don't have to say any more. You don't have to give it away, but I want to know more. Carry on.
Okay, you're invited, of course.
So is the world.
They are, all of them. So now we're casting a male character, finally. And in September, we're starting, just the three of us working on the new play.
Wow. And that'll be
we'll perform it in Italian in November.
Well, I will help you whatever way I can with publicity. I'll tell people, I'll pass your Instagram things on and sharing. That's the word I mean. That's the word I'm looking for.
Sharing, yeah.
Sharing. I shall share your news out there as best I can.
Graham.
Well, I would do it. You're the best. But we have to help each other, don't we? This is the thing.
Absolutely. We need to. And don't upload things for free. Don't do that. Otherwise, people think that you're not worth a penny.
It's so interesting. I think my friend Nick would agree with that, actually. Because I got it
valuable.
Somebody saw the Edward II that I did, and it was a lady in India, and she said, "Have you done anything on Christopher Marlowe like that?" And I said, no, I haven't. And she said, "Oh, I'd love to see a piece on the Christ blood speech, Faustus's final speech in Marlowe's play." So I've done it.
It was,
and
I was speechless, really.
It's just that speech, but I've recorded the voice and put images to the voice, and I'll send that out. I don't know, in 6 or 7 weeks. But anyway, my friend Nick said, "And how much is she paying us for this?" I said, "Nothing, I'm afraid."
No, don't do it.
I haven't got your guts. I haven't got your,
Well, we didn't have those guts, and then we started to understand that that was definitely not the right way to do it, because the world speaks another language.
Interesting.
And when you upload things for free, they think that you don't it's a general opinion, of course, but the internet generation and socials generation are pretty young, actually. So there are a lot of freeloaders. There is a term for that. They're called freeloaders, which means that they will always watch things for free, and you, as an actor, will never receive something, a contribution, at least a symbolic contribution for your own survival. So there's no way. It should be the opposite, actually. There should be the highest price ever, because this has an incomparable value.
Very well. You've made me think now.
You have.
You've made me think now.
Think
and also,
about it. It's very important, actually.
It is. So you're. I mean, on just the nuts and bolts of that, you set up your PayPal account and all the rest of it specifically for your theatre company and so on.
They're just making donations, of course.
Donations. Okay, so you don't have to pay what here would be VAT.
No.
Okay. Interesting. Yes. Well, yes. Well, that's given me a bit to think about, I must say. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. I will leave it there because this is your interview. Your interview. Well, look, we'll stop here. So because it's been just over an hour, so I'm sorry to have gone over the hour.
It's been a pleasure. Really.
Well, I hope we will meet again in I don't know 6 months or so. Perhaps we'll do another conversation like this and see where we're up to. How about that?
Yeah. It would be really nice.
Okay, good. So we'll look out for your next show publicity, and I'll share it like crazy. And bravo to you.
Thank you.